Hey, what's up guys, KWest here. This weekend was the worldwide Street Fighter V beta. I got to play quite a bit and I'm going to share my thoughts on it. Side note, all my opinions are on the beta and what Capcom has said and revealed so far. Anything could change. So I'm going to go over the pros and cons. First, pros, it's going back to basics, has big damage, and Capcom is forcing fights. The cons, we got slow walk speed and small throw ranges. Alright, pros first. This game is definitely going back to the basics. There are no crazy mechanics, and the game really rewards good fundamental play. You will not be able to combo jabs into mediums or heavies in this game, which is completely different from SF4. You actually have to commit to your buttons now, and overall the game feels very similar to early Street Fighter 2 games. I think this game is actually going to bring back a lot of the older crowd that like the SF2 games compared to SF4, just because it's very simple to pick up and play. If you're going to pick up Ryu, you can play him exactly like how you used to play him back in the arcades. This game has huge damage now. Super combos can do up to 50% damage, and a good read can do roughly about 35% damage now. The catch to this is that you can't get big damage off of jabs anymore. I think this is a great change because I think the game becomes much more offensive this way. You're not punished for trying to go for a frame trap this hard. Now, yeah, they can interrupt you during a frame trap with a jab or something like that, but if you set up your frame trap correctly, you're going to get rewarded heavily now. Versus before, you could actually probably lose about 40% in SF4. So the last one I have for the pros is that Capcom is really trying to force fights. And honestly, I think this is their new design philosophy. There's three big mechanics I feel like that do this. One, wake-ups are no longer free. You can't FADC out and get out of jail for free pretty much with 2 meters. You have to commit to your Shoryuken, and if you miss, it's huge damage now that they announced that crush counters are going to work on Shoryukens. This lets the player that gets the knockdown actually keep his momentum from getting the knockdown. And on top of keeping the momentum, I think this is actually going to make players a lot more creative on wake-ups. I think the other big thing though is the way V-skills and V-triggers are working right now. Everyone that's been announced so far has a way around fireballs with their V-skill or V-trigger. So Bison and Nash have their anti-fireball V-skills, Birdie gets free V-meter with his donuts if you try and zone him out, Ryu can just parry the fireballs. And honestly, it just forces you to actually make a conscious decision about fireballs. So Capcom kinda did it in SF4 with Focus, in the sense that you couldn't just throw fireballs from full screen away and try and zone out your opponent as easily, because they could just FADC. But in SF5, it looks like they're trying to fine tune it more to the player's playstyle. I feel like charge characters kind of got the short end of the stick in SF4 because of the way Focus worked inherently. You had to give up your charge to Focus. And I think the final thing is you can't die to chip. It's been a prominent thing in newer games that you cannot die to chip damage anymore. And I actually think it's pretty interesting because old games used to be able to die to chip, and especially old Capcom games, a lot of the times you would do a crazy combo, end it, and then they would have just a little bit of life left, and you could just throw a fireball, and no matter what, they had to wake up and do it. And with that not being the case anymore, you have to be able to open your opponent up. So with that, it actually makes more comebacks possible because you have to go into your opponent now. Your opponent can play really tight defense, and then you can mess up something, and then he can make the comeback on you. With damage so high, it's actually kind of scary. The game's going to be much more spectator friendly, and I think that's going to be great for the overall esports scene in general. I think we'll see a lot more comebacks, but they aren't going to be Street Fighter 4 comebacks where, hey, I woke up, sure you can FADC Ultra, that was my comeback. Now it's going to be, I made the correct reads 3 times in a row, which I think is actually much better, and I think it's going to let the better player win more often than not. So the 2 biggest cons of the game that I have right now are walk speeds are super slow, to the point where it's almost too slow. And also the fact that throw ranges are incredibly short. So on the walk speed, it's interesting because I feel like it's really hard now to play footsies, because walk speeds are so slow, it's hard to make people whiff. Because since you have to commit to your buttons now also, that makes it even more of a point that I wish walk speeds were a little bit faster. Because then you could bait more sweeps, you could bait bigger buttons so you could get bigger damage off of it. But the way they are now, you kind of just have to hover and bait one exact button instead of baiting maybe a couple different things and covering different options through that, just because of the way you can move back and forth. And I think one of the other big problems that I have right now is that throw ranges are incredibly small. It's really hard to walk up with a light and then take throw. I feel like you have to be right on top of the opponent to get a throw, and even command grabs are really short. I tried to do a light into command grab as birdie, and it would whiff. It was really interesting to see because they've never been low in any other game, so the fact that you have to be right on top of someone, it hurts. Plus the fact that they're getting rid of kara throws, which is when you can use a normal to extend your throw range, actually makes throw ranges even smaller than they used to be. Overall, I think the game will not be bad, and it actually has potential to be really good. I enjoyed the beta quite a bit, and even with my cons, I think with a couple little tweaks, Capcom can really have something good here. Until next time, hope to see you guys next beta.